Well, back tonight, just kind of doing a health check on the old Exploder here. It's an 02 Ford Explorer. Got the 4.0 V6, 5-speed. I think it's the 5R55 SW or W, something like that. I think about to do 223,000 miles on it. Pretty minimal issues. One of the big issues I've had for a long time is cooling system problems. So the thermostat housing, that fella right there, normally a plastic one, Dorman piece, get it any auto parts store. Been through about 4 or 5 of the plastic ones, and I got this at 67,000 miles and got it from my grandma, and it was immaculately maintained by the dealer. I mean, no thing was fresh off the showroom. And then I got it, and for the first long time I had it, just neglected it and figured it'd always run, and then started learning that you actually need to take care of stuff. So first problems I had were cooling, and I kept blowing the thermostat housing and that small bypass hose down there from the water pump. So last one overheated probably 2 months ago, and this thing turned into a power stroke for I think about 8 minutes when I was sitting in traffic. Didn't want to turn it off because didn't know if she'd come back. Just rod knocking, sounded absolutely insane, and that had a small crack on the plastic one, kind of right down here where this heater hose comes in, and then also the gasket or O-ring in here under the temp sensor was just kind of leaking. But the big issue was the rad. It had been, I think, JB welded twice before because I don't like to buy new parts, I like to keep them going. And I've always had leaks in the back here, but that leak ended up, it was in the front. So first time it was JB welded, it had a little crack up top here on, stick that up here in the corner, which I guess is common. And I used the quick set 5-minute get her done JB weld, and that lasted for a couple years and went again, so just kind of barely cleaned it up, splattered a little more JB weld on there, and it held, and then that started going. So finally, oh, and then that time I got a little crack up in front there, which was again kind of towards the top. So I actually pulled the radiator, which wasn't terrible, but wasn't really the most fun process because I was here at the house and didn't have, the tools I have at the shop, which just, basic ratchet wrenches, angle impact, stuff like that would have made it a lot easier, but just did it by hand here. So I actually pulled it out, took a blue scuff pad on a die grinder, a little 3-inch, and cleaned it real good, kind of ate down into the plastic, kind of ate into the core, fingers bending over the core a little bit on the aluminum. Really, brake clean, got it good and clean, got the oils off, and just packed it full of real JB weld and let it sit for a day. Put it back in, and it's been a lot better since then. But I've been smelling coolant, and if you don't know what coolant smells like, it's kind of like waffle crisp and syrup. But see, I've got a little pinhole down in there. and luckily for me, the whole cooling system's filled with rust, and it makes it really easy to spot your leak. So I'm gonna, again, probably just lay the top of this back and put some more JB Weld in there and see what happens. Other than that, that aluminum thermostat housing was a great purchase. It was on eBay, came from China, and hopefully won't have issues with that. Also got the valve covers just kind of seeping on this side and kind of procrastinating on that. And then this side, I would say, is more of a gushing-ish situation. So hopefully remedy that here in the near-ish future, hopefully by the end of winter. Other issue is timing chains, which very common on the 4-liter, but motors gotta come out to get to the bell housing. There's a tensioner bolt under the bell housing supposedly, and they started rattling, I'd say about 130,000, maybe 120-ish, making a little bit of noise, and now it's getting pretty significant. But as far as I've heard, it's a safe motor to where if it does throw the timing, valves don't go straight into the piston and destroy it. So currently just running it, and last oil change switched to the Rotella T6. I think I put 1040 in it, and seemed to quiet it up a little bit, but still one day get addressed. And then also, big thing, it's clean. So I work on it quite a bit because I just try to save parts and keep it going. So if you're working on it, it's nice that it's clean and not just caked with grease like, you know, 98% of the motors you're going to work on. Other than that, the trans I rebuilt probably, I think it was at 196, 97, something like that. Took it out here at the house, which was kind of a pain. It wasn't so bad except for getting the transmission out from under the car, because it pretty much had to jack it up to Mount Everest and then drop the trans off the jack and drag it out on the ground like a Neanderthal. But it worked out, and haven't had issues with that. Just had my boss kind of rebuild it for me. Resealed, new clutches. I think we put one new planet in there. New input shaft, new torque converter. Just kind of a basic overhaul for high mileage. And still haven't had any issues with that, other than filling it, which Ford did a great job. You have to get a little, I guess, fitting that plugs into the drain hole, and you just, I got pumped like 14 quarts in, you know, obviously with it running, and you just pump more fluid in it than it needs, and then wait for it to dribble out. You get a small stream, and put your drain plug in, and, you know, supposedly that's your fill mark. Other than, I mean, it's all stock. I've got, it is, I guess, lifted. Got a 3-inch spacer on the front coil, which when you jack it up, just jams the upper control arm right into that coil and makes some pretty cool sounds. And then on the rear, I've only got a 1-inch, which you can't hardly see it in there. But I went with the 2, and it ended up separating, I think it was this passenger side That CV shaft is the long side because the diff's offset, and with the 2-inch spacer it separated the shaft, and you know, obviously didn't work. And another issue really on the other one is fuel pumps, which got a pretty good method to getting that out. Now it's in that little hole, and you can do it in a parking lot. Jack the back up, leave the front half attached, and you can lay it down, lay the back down to get enough space. Oh, neighbors! Hello, dog! We're doing YouTube, showing people the Exploder.
There we go.
And then other than that, we got a I guess knockoff cherry bomb-ish thing off of a Jeep that we built at the old shop, and they were going to throw them away, and I said no, I'll take one. And then being under here, noticed that the body mounts are fairly well shot. That one's the decentish one, and then this front one, the whole bottom's gone. Been getting a rattle down here, and I'm thinking it's either that smacking around or the fuel filter up there that doesn't have the bracket holding it because I was lazy in a parking lot doing it, and it just kind of wiggles round. So other than that, trans we'll see. And then you do not want that guy right there, your viewing window and the bell housing. You want to make sure that you got the cover in there because those torque converters do not like dust. So we're currently doing an experiment for the past 25,000 miles with no plug because I was again too lazy to put it in, and it's not leaking yet. So other than that, Matt, what else about this car? Oh, it's wrecked.
We're surprised it's still running.
It's still running. We did have a mishap. What was that, February this year? And crunched the rear end. Annihilated that tie rod, turned it into a spaghetti noodle. So I stole that one off the other Explorer that's here. And then also bent that upper control arm. Had to replace that, which was a pricey guy. I think it's like 175 bucks cost at the shop, which came with a ball joint and bushings, but I thought that was a little quite outrageous. Diff leaks a little bit from there, and then also on the other axle seal going in, it leaks. Oh, junkyard 2-inch receiver off all-wheel drive Mountaineer with a V8. So that bolted up. It had the little baby 1.5-inch receiver, and I got tired of running the extension adapter deal. And then that also came with the 7-pin that plugged right into my harness that I think didn't even have a pin, or a 4-pin, I don't even think. But that all plugged in, and then we just hardwired 4-pin in there, which worked. And then, what else did we break in the wreck? Oh, the front, it's still bent. Front end lower control arm got super bent and wasted. If you notice how tight it is there, and space there. So I took it to my alignment guy, and we just kind of straightened it, and I've been driving it. Other than that, leaks oil, valve cover, and who knows what else. Radiator leaks. Gonna try to fix that with, you know, more JB weld naturally. And what else is there? Oh, the light. That light. Do that if you have broken stuff, because you just nail it over here into the battery and have a fuse, and then you have light on the side of the road because it's broken. And a Yeti cup hood prop. And what else?
Yeti cup hood prop.
Sorry.
Pretty much covered it.
Pretty much nailed it. Get you one of these fancy ammo antennas, so your radio goes out when you're 4 miles from whatever tower you're at and you can't listen to anything. Get some race car taillights when you crash your car and break your factory one out on the highway and it's gone. And yeah, Michelin Defenders. So far, my favorite tire that you can have. And then also, if you're gonna work on stuff, make sure you have tunage and then awesome switchage. Which one? Turn on your lights for your tool drawer, which it's great. Keep all your stuff. And then, so pulled the fix-it maneuver. See what lasts and how long, and I'm gonna let you know what it was. Another good Explorer. You're gonna be working on it. Put your stuff in there. So back together, see what happens.